Marvel fans, buckle up, man. This is crazy. Of course, we got to talk about the Russo brothers coming back to do Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. But on the heels of that absolute insane news yesterday, a lot of other scoopers and insiders have come forward to explain even more. And the reality is, it's crazy because the video I did like 3 days ago about Avengers vs. X-Men, it really seems more than ever to be the case that Avengers 5 is actually Avengers vs. X-Men. Holy shit. But let's break this whole thing down with the Russo brothers in a little bit of further detail, because I think that's going to help to set the table for what's happening. Now, remember yesterday, Jeff Snyder was teasing that he knew about this. Then the Hollywood Reporter scooped him, and basically they confirmed that it is true. And if you watched the Hot Mic podcast with John Roca and Jeff Snyder, I mean, it was pretty funny because Jeff's kind of really mad. He's basically losing his goddamn mind on this podcast. And because he was so upset, he starts like teasing other stuff. He's like, oh yeah, Marvel, you want to play? You want to play? And on top of that, he did calm down and release his newsletter later that night, which I did read. And so with further context, here's what it appears happened. It is indeed the case that the Russo brothers pitched to Marvel just a couple of weeks ago. They had a plan for the movies. They wanted to make the movies a certain way. And I'm absolutely certain that they didn't just come in with like a cold pitch. They were aware of what was going on at Marvel. There was a time when the Russo brothers were taking meetings with Feige and Esposito every single month. And this was after Endgame. Now, I won't pretend that I believe that was going on over the past couple of years. It seems like Marvel and the Russos had really distanced themselves. But what I'm trying to illuminate to you is they didn't just come in with a cold pitch. They understand what is at stake. They understand the general plan for Marvel. They understand what Secret Wars is. They understand going away from Jonathan Majors and Kang, which is another thing that was really solidified yesterday in the Hollywood Reporter article. They understand that all the Avengers are coming back. Like, they know what's going on. So this isn't like a pitch where they're like, well, what if we did this crazy thing that has nothing to do with what you guys wanted to do? Now, the truth is, Marvel was trying to go in a different direction. They took the pitch from the Russo brothers. They obviously liked the guys enough to let them get very close to doing the gig, but then ultimately Kevin Feige said he had other people that he wanted to look at. And we don't have all of the information here, but from what I've heard and what's being implied out there, it really does seem like Kevin Feige wanted new directors to handle these big movies because the Russo brothers had done it in the past and they kind of wanted to pave their own way. They wanted somebody else to come in so that basically people could look at Secret Wars and be like, oh my God, that's like crazy spectacle, even crazier than Endgame. And look, Marvel did it without the Russo brothers. Maybe Marvel, Kevin Feige, and everybody over there, they can plug anybody into this system and make these hits. I'm simplifying it. I'm speculating, but essentially that's what I feel like was happening. But I think the reality started to set in for Marvel Studios as they met with these other people and tried to get them, including Sean Levy. They realized nobody's really up for this crazy of a task because this would kind of be like one or two of the biggest movies of all time. Definitely the most time-consuming, very costly movies to make, right? And so ultimately Marvel arrived at a place where they didn't really have a good pick outside of the Russo brothers, and it caused Kevin to go back to the Russo brothers. Now, Jeff said in his newsletter that essentially Kevin Feige was on his hands and knees begging, okay? Now, look, that's Jeff and his perspective on the situation. But I think if you look at what they said in the Hollywood Reporter, which indicated that the Russo brothers were coming back in more than just a directorial position, they're going to have major influence on this project. That sort of speaks to the leverage they probably had in this situation where Kevin was trying this other thing. He kind of realized it wasn't the right move. He goes back to the Russo brothers. But now, because it's such a tight window, the Russo brothers have incredible leverage. And they probably said, look, Kevin, we're willing to do this. We love you guys. But now we're going to need even more control. And I believe that is what is leading to Michael Waldron going away. He's not mentioned in the Hollywood Trade articles at all yesterday. And remember that Nexus Point News scooped that Waldron was off Avengers 5, right? So it's very likely the case that the Russos are just bringing in their preferred writers. Now, Jeff talked about Marcus and McFeely. He indicated that maybe one of them would be back for one of the projects. He did say it's possible both of them will be coming back. There might be something going on there, which maybe has to do with an illness or something. I don't know. It was sort of weird to read how Jeff was reporting about this, but essentially he's saying that he heard just one of them is coming back, but it is also possible that both of them are coming back. And look, don't worry. We're going to get into the Avengers vs. X-Men thing because I believe that's the Russo brothers pitch, essentially. But let's just focus on this first bit of news here. So that's kind of what was going on with Marvel Studios, right? And because Comic-Con is so important to Kevin Feige, he considered himself to be on the clock. Just think about that for a second. There's technically no reason that Kevin has to announce the directors of the next two Avengers movies at Comic-Con. Like, it's kind of arbitrary, right? Like, he could just announce the movies. He doesn't have to announce the directors, but he knows, because he is so savvy and he's so tapped into the fan base and just, how conversations happen. He knows that if he goes to Comic-Con without that clarification, that will be the story. People will talk about that. People will look for the things that he's trying to cover up. And this is Marvel's biggest opportunity yet to showcase that they are turning things around, returning to form. And I think bringing the Russo brothers back just falls in line with that philosophy. I'd like to believe that there's part of what Kevin realized was kind of like what I've been saying, that if you're willing to forego your plans, your Marvel Cinematic Universe plans, for Daredevil, and understand, okay, let's just kind of do the old Netflix version. That's what people actually want. That philosophy and thinking would bring you to the same conclusion about the Avengers movies. Just get the Russo brothers. They're kind of the only qualified people for this job, in my opinion. And I didn't understand why Kevin was not allowing them to do it, especially when I heard they pitched a couple of weeks ago. Like, come on, man. Like, you've got these dudes. They're willing to do it. You probably should have just signed them up a couple of weeks ago. And look, it's a lot of inside baseball speculation. Frankly, we don't know for sure, right? We're just hearing it from some reporters, but these are reliable reporters. Like, Snyder has gotten so much right. I believe he is tapped in to what's actually going on. But what it means for the fans, guys, is I just have so much confidence now in Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. Like, any other people, it would have been like, I just don't know, because they've changed Avengers 5, right? From this Kang Dynasty thing, from this like other thing, to now probably essentially Avengers vs. X-Men. And I think if you want Avengers vs. X-Men done correctly with all of those freaking Marvel characters, the Russo brothers are the guys to do this. I said this on the stream yesterday. We did an emergency stream. I love the Russos. I think they're underrated with their Marvel work, because a lot of the characters from the MCU were handled best with the Russos. Like Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. She's at her best in the Russo brothers movies. T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, may he rest in peace, he was at his best in the Russo brothers movie. Tom Holland, Spider-Man, dude, he was at his best in the Russo brothers movie. The Russo brothers and the writing team of Marcus and McFeely, they tapped into something that's just rare, dude. In any type of medium, with any kinds of storytellers, it's just rare to have this well of a handle on how to take these characters into live action. So, like, as a fan, dude, I'm ecstatic. This was always the right move. I can't believe it's actually happening. This is amazing. And it just seems like the stars are kind of aligning for Marvel Studios. I know it is obviously something that Marvel didn't essentially really want to do. And look, of course, that's weird. But ultimately, as a fan, I'm just happy that we're here. We've arrived. And now it's just, we're all in, right? And I can imagine, like, dude, the Russos right now are in a big room with whiteboards, maybe talking to their writer friends, coming up with ideas, pitching stuff to Kevin Feige, coming up with interesting twists for the characters. A lot of people talking about maybe they will redeem what they did to Hulk and Thor in these movies, which would be absolutely epic. So holy shit, man, as a fan, I feel really good about this. Now, why do I think this is an Avengers vs. X-Men movie? Why is that probably happening? Well, I mean, first of all, just look at the video I did a couple of days ago. There's evidence. There's rumblings, stuff going on in the tea leaves. But Alex Perez yesterday basically just soft confirmed that Avengers 5 is Avengers vs. X-Men. And look, too, I don't like sharing DMs, but Alex and I we used to DM quite a bit. And the last DM I sent him was literally like, hey, man, Avengers vs. X-Men is Avengers 5? And this was on April 3rd of this year. And Alex ghosted me. Now, around that time, I did hear from some people that Avengers vs. X-Men was going to be Avengers 5. But I wasn't sure. That's why I was reaching out to Alex to try to get it confirmed. When he just left me hanging, something did click for me where I was like, I think he might know and he can't say, so he's not even answering me. And not only did Alex Perez say essentially that yes, you're going to get Avengers vs. X-Men for Avengers 5, but he said that you will understand why this isn't actually rushing Avengers vs. X-Men after you watch Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, some dude literally replied to Alex and was like, that feels like you can't do that. You're rushing Avengers vs. X-Men. And Alex literally quote tweeted him and said, well, after you see Deadpool and Wolverine, it'll make sense. And what that speaks to is longstanding rumors that what is being set up on the Void via all the X-Men universes there will eventually manifest in an Avengers versus X-Men kind of collision. Now, essentially, we first thought this was an incursion, but it could be much deeper than that. It could actually be a bunch of incursions, because apparently in Deadpool and Wolverine, Universe 1000005 is the original X-Men timeline. I believe that is actually the universe where Monica Rambeau ends up at the end of the Marvels. And the 616, of course, is the original Avengers timeline. Because you see, if you do entire versions of universes versus other entire versions of universes, you allow yourself to have all kinds of variants, which is going to be important because you're going to want Robert Downey Jr., you're going to want Chris Evans if you're going to be teaming them up against friggin' Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, Patrick Stewart, Professor X, etc., right? So this is crazy as shit, dude. And I think that this is a big build-up thing that they're going to do in Avengers 5. And I do believe it'll be something that's announced officially next week at San Diego Comic-Con, and we'll probably get even more details after that. Also, I know there's a big story right now about Robert Downey Jr. and Doctor Doom. I'm going to do a whole video about Doctor Doom, what I think they're doing with RDJ, but let me just say briefly here, I actually don't believe that Robert Downey Jr. will play a variant of Doctor Doom. I don't think that's exactly what's happening. It's a little confusing what's happening. I understand why I think Jeff heard it or interpreted that the way he did. I'll explain all of that in a video. I might even talk about it on stream tomorrow. But let me just say here, I don't think you're getting Robert Downey Jr. as a variant of Victor Von Doom. But as Jeff says, Doom is out there, boys. Doom is out there, and we got to talk about it. All right, let me know what you think about this. It's absolute insanity to me, dude. Avengers vs. X-Men as Avengers 5. It's like my dreams are coming true. Holy shit, we went from shaky multiversal saga with really lackluster movies and a total lame duck Avengers film in Avengers 5 that was just going to set up Secret Wars to now having something completely different. The Fox X-Men versus the 616 Avengers. Everybody's coming back. Super nostalgic. Holy shit, I can't believe it. I'm hyped. Let me know your thoughts about all of this and more in the comment section below. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.